the 7th. Laufey, empty room. A very gloomy December day. So let's have a chat because it's been a while. No script, unplanned, haphazard. Well, I saw this coming because of course it's December 7th and it would be a crime against humanity if I don't make a video. I have the board here, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. Anyways, it's December 7th. You know what that means? I completely forgot that I premiered the video December 7th. I remember the December 3rd videos, but I completely forgot about the December 7th one, and I have yet to watch it later. So let's rewind. Well, that's not new in this channel. It's what I do. I look back. But not rewind wherein we say I should have done this or that, but more like say it's a premature and advanced summary of the year. More specifically when it came to my experiences with my first relationship, because I did more or less just expose myself. Not really exposed, but I finally said it out loud, and more than that, share it to the world, even though that could be illegal. I don't know. She's good at those things. She could sue me if she wants to. Anyways, it would have been 1 year. Yeah, let's write things on the board because it would be a waste. And this is me. There's always this one question I ask people, and I ask them if it would be a depressing thing to do. Is it still considered a monthsary or an anniversary if only one person celebrates it? I've accepted that there is really no point in trying to expect anything. And again, this isn't just between me, the girl, relationship, and love. To me, this was more than just that, and I've reiterated that countless times towards so many people. And if this was just a mere heartbreak, then I definitely would survive. But I did not expect it to give me such an existential crisis, because I did not know that relationships could be that beautiful. I thought that once it's over, it would just send me down to the path of never again, because that was the initial plan. At one point, it's one of the logical Homer advocacies. It's blackpilling, self-inflicted blackpilling, but you know that goes a lot around my life, self-inflicted suffering. The fact that I knew that I would be doing this back then, not really moping and being miserable and all that, because I am getting by with my everyday tasks, even though I feel like complete utter shit. Very strong language, but that's how I would describe my state right now. I get by, but obviously there are some times where I'm shittier than shit, and that's normal. I knew relationships, at least modern relationships, can be that shallow nowadays, and I found that to be very sad. That's why I was so hesitant, because some people just do it for the experience, and I'm not really a fan of that. I'm a date to marry individual, and that's such a cliche line to say out loud, but I can't believe that something that's a given is now seen as something that guys just say because they want to look nice or whatever. Because the reality of this is that we can say as much as we like that we are date to marry and that we are committed people, but there's this quote that I saw: we are looking for unconditional love with a bag full of conditions. And you know, this isn't isolated to me or to her. This is for everybody. Society nowadays is just everybody projecting their pains to one another, and that's just the reality of it. And that is one of the hardest pills to swallow in the past few months. I did not expect that a heartbreak would lead to such an internal conflict. Again, it's not even that bad of a heartbreak. Yes, it's terrible. I should stop trying to undermine or underestimate the intensity of my grief, because in the end, how I decide to live out my days and feel about all this is up to me. And I decide that I will be suffering for a little longer. Not because I hate myself or I hate her or I hate anybody. No, it's just the way I saw it, or the way I put it, is just I'm fulfilling a contract between November 2023, me, and me, like me now, you know? I could yap all day about how much I miss her, but there's really no point in doing that. And I'm not really the type of guy who would go to my bros and mope, saying things such as, oh, I miss her, blah, blah, blah. Well, again, I'm here. I've come to a point where I don't deny such feelings anymore because I do fucking miss her so much. And I've already said it before, I guess in one of my videos I watched, the December 3 videos, and there is a clear distinction between the way I saw things 2 months prior to how I view things now, which is pretty mad because if that much change can happen between 2 months, imagine what would happen in a year. And at this point, December 7, 2023, at this very moment, I was out there with a close friend of mine, even though he's questionable in many aspects. It was a one-on-one, and I was trying to wrap my head around this getting into a relationship plan because, again, this is not my forte. It's not my cup of tea. I don't do this thing. You know, I don't do these things. I don't get into it. Of course, he is probably one of the worst people. Not really worst. I trust his word, but yeah, I take it with a grain of salt each time, every time. December 7, 2023, I presented the PowerPoint in front of my friends explaining how me dating Biel would be a terrible idea. I was trying to be as objective as possible and laying down the facts in a comprehensive manner. And it's vivid now, it's a real blur as to what we concluded with at the time. But one thing led to another, and I ended up going to school for a completely different reason, I'm pretty sure. It just happens to be that Limshak or Johan was there. Let's just say Johan. Yeah, Johan was there, and we decided to get my situation resolved, let's say. And it took us like what, 2 hours? It was actually around this time. We were just hanging around the grandstand and we were trying to psychoanalyze me and Biel and how things would unfold and the potentially different roads it could go. He offered me this, he offered me that. If this happens, you do this. Looking back now, as I've said in my Twitter, and perhaps even in one of my videos, is that I should really tone it down with the analysis thing, wherein if there's one thing that I've really learned from Biel, is that, can I even say her name? Am I suable? It's not the word suable. Anyways, forgive me if you're watching this, if you know, in the rare chance that you ever do. It's just forcing things and fate and all that. And I've tackled it in my Amorphati video, and I wasn't specifically targeting. I have nothing against people who believe that fate should be loved to that extent. I mentioned I understand those type of people because it does work. What I'm trying to say is, so much has happened and so much has changed within me because of her and because of parting ways with her that I just can't wrap my head around. I gave up on trying to question the reason behind these things. There's no point, there is no answer. It's meaningless. But rather, the pace in which a lot could change within ourselves and for us to have completely no control over it. Johan offered me a variety of options on how I could do about this. I could bring in a third party like a helper bro aside from Lord. Around later that evening, around 6 o'clock when I finally got around to go home, I remember this quote from the Baudelaire show on Netflix where I guess it was Lemony Snicket. It was actually a novel apparently. And it said, and I quote, pardon my terrible handwriting. I really like writing it down like this because this was such a decisive quote that just more or less I could even say decided my entire life. Can you guys see it? Do this scary thing first and get scared later. And this served as a catalyst for me to finally just decide to go fuck it people, which is something I've never done my entire life. I don't go for things that has no assured success per se. I'm not the type to gamble, basically. And it's not that I was gambling with the person, I was gambling with the concept of relationships, and I've known, and that has been reiterated to me on how complicated these social concepts can become. It's not a problem with the people, it's more like it's just the way things evolve to be in our society, and we really have no choice but to bend under its rules and its standards per se, even though some of them could be completely messed up, at least from my perspective. But again, loving someone comes at the risk of grieving or grief. Here's how I would just boil it down. If the plan was, the logical plan at least one of the 100 plans I've drawn up the drawing board is that you go for it, let's say it goes bad, now at least you have the fuel to commit to your computer science gig. Basically, it will prove to the other homers that has been against the idea of me getting into a relationship, it proves their point basically. And so they'll be like, they're gonna go on this "I told you" campaign. This is what we expected, but contrary to that, the opposite kind of happened. Well, not really the opposite, but the "I told you" campaign, it's not working. It's not working because I thought that would work. That the homers, the logical homers would be like, I told you that going for this relationship thing was a terrible idea. But I don't even feel a hint of regret. Perhaps I did mess up a lot of things towards the end of our stint, but that's not the point. The point is, I do not regret chatting her that day exactly a year ago. I do not regret following her back. I do not regret dating her. And I do not regret buying those tulips. And I don't regret looking for that damn flower in my childhood home and sending it to her. There's so much things I could have done. And whether that counts as regret, that's a different type of regret. That's what I would argue. But I'm sorry, I'm losing my chill. I don't have a drink with me.